Welcome to the Aim for Success podcast. I'm Joni Knighty, a licensed psychotherapist and certified clinical hypnotist and trainer. I'm also the founder of Aim for Success and Joni Knighty Hypnosis. I've been practicing for over 27 years, and I'm excited about sharing my experiences and those of my guests. Be sure and check out my websites, aim-for-success.com and joniknightyhypnosis.com to learn more about my services and products. I also invite you to check out my store, aim-store.net. As a gift to you for listening to this podcast, use the code SUCCESS to receive 25% off your first self-hypnosis audio purchase. You are listening to episode 6 of the Aim for Success podcast featuring DeVore Burk. Laura is a Bowles School graduate and swimming alumni. During her earlier years in the sport, she was part of a national high school championship team, a Florida State record holder, and a national junior team member. Laura received a full swimming scholarship to Arizona State University. Unfortunately, a car accident ended her swimming career towards the end of her freshman year. Laura then transitioned to coaching, and she has contributed to the development of many elite athletes, including Caleb Dressel. She is no stranger to adversity and has demonstrated an excellent mindset to work through it, as evidenced by where she is today. Hear about Laura's journey and embrace the important messages that she communicates about resilience, optimism, and giving back to others. Hello, everyone. Today I have with me Laura Burk, and I could not be more excited about not only telling you who she is, but all of the things that she's done and letting you hear from her all kinds of things about athletes, about athlete transitions, and about what she's doing now. So, hello, Laura. How are you?
Hi, Joni. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. I have seen this in my mind, this interview, so many times, and we've tried to connect, and we've both just been so busy. I'm just so happy that it's come to fruition.
Very excited as well. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this. So, okay, so in my introduction, my more formal introduction, I talked about your career in swimming, not only as an athlete, a competitive athlete, but as a coach and a mentor to other coaches, to parents, aquatics professionals, and all of that, and all of the participation you had in developing young athletes just in general. So let's go back and to when you were swimming and talk about that. I love that you are from this area, from the Bowles School, and let's go all the way back to that time in your life.
That's a long time ago.
I know, right?
Right.
So, well, as a high school swimmer at Bowles, right?
Yes. I actually started at Bowles as an age grouper. I did start at a club team before Bowles, the Orange Park Sailfish. And I went and I tried out for their team, and I went to a few meets and won some events. I didn't really know anything about the sport, and I met some real friends, lifelong friends, as a matter of fact. Heather Anderson is still my best friend today, and she's the one who brought me over to Bowles to swim. And I joined the age group program at Bowles under Mal Hinson. And so that's where I really did start to learn about the sport and develop as an athlete, not just an athlete. I didn't know it at that young age, but kind of shape who I am today.
I had no idea that you started over there that early. I love the age group swimming so much, and I love what you just said about what you learned at an early age, because I'm working with a lot of younger swimmers now, and I get so excited because I think, number one, we can avoid a lot of bad habits on the mental side, and they are so willing to play. And a lot of the work that I do involves imagination and play and getting out of the front brain so that when you get to competition, you can just go swim and have fun doing it.
No, and I think that's important especially at the age group level. I think that if I look back at why I was so successful at an early age is I didn't know any better about the pressures to put on myself. I was just having fun. I love to compete.
Yes.
I did discover that very early, that swim meets were fun. I wasn't a big fan of practice, but I think that that's why I was successful early, is because I just had fun with it. I didn't put that pressure on myself, and it allowed me to continue to grow with the sport. As I turned into a mental teenager, that became more of an issue, but that's also where Coach Troy was able to help me develop new skills. So Mal kind of laid the foundation of just having fun, laying the foundation of the basic skills of technique. And we had a lot of fun. He made it fun to come to practice, and we swam fast. The group that swam with him swam very fast. And so Coach Troy took on from there and developed the other side of it. And I always feel like I should apologize to him for what I know now about being a coach and all the athletes that you deal with in a day. And, the patience that he had just to even deal with me on given days. But I appreciate that piece because it's helped me with skills to this day, that if I hadn't gone through a lot of the adversity that I endured as a teenager in trying to make it, that I definitely wouldn't be the person that I'm very thankful for.
That's one beautiful gratitude. And I think that for most of us, or a lot of us, gratitude for really special things often doesn't come until later, because we have that time to reflect and grow up, because it takes a long time, doesn't it? So a lot of people don't know who Coach Troy is. Can you tell? Because I have viewers that they don't swim, but they are interested in athletes. So
it would surprise me that somebody would not know who he is. He is an iconic coach in the swimming and within the swimming community. He is everywhere. He is coached at every level, every type of athlete. And so I would have a hard time believing that. But Coach Greg Troy, he started at Bowles. I think he actually started at Sarasota before my Bowles. And I was fortunate to have him through my high school career. And then he went on to the Gators, Florida Gators.
And then you went on. So Coach Troy was an influence. And so you left high school and went to Arizona State?
I did. I had the opportunity I pretty much had the opportunity to go where I wanted to with my swimming career, went on all my recruiting trips, and I ended up at Arizona State under Coach Tim Hill. And I did not get to finish my swimming career because I was in a car accident right at the end of my freshman year that into about 5 different surgeries and really out of the sport. And so I wasn't prepared for that mentally. I think that I had a few more years left in me swimming, and that I would prepare for kind of that transition from being a swimmer to going on to real life. And one day in the wrong place, my life changed. It completely changed. And because I wasn't prepared for it, I really did kind of go to a deep, dark place. So Tim Hill really helped me to transition out of the place that I was in and got me thinking about not being an athlete anymore and what type of goals that I really wanted to accomplish as an adult and go to that transition. So he pulled me from being in the pool to being on the side of the pool. And if you had asked me before I went to college what I was going to be, I would not have said I'm going to be a coach. That wasn't on my list of things that I wanted to be when I grew up.
To have your choice of schools to swim for, you must have been pretty good. And I know that for a fact. And so you were able to take all of that talent, all that experience swimming at very high levels, and communicate that as a coach at this point, right?
I didn't realize it at the time, and it definitely wasn't something that I realized even in the beginning. I realize it a little bit more today. I think I would take more of a stance of I didn't know how good I was.
Right.
Because I was always pushing to be better. But when the platform changed,
Mm-hmm.
going from it being a personal piece to learning to deal with individuals, different individuals, whether it be swimmers or parents or employees, that what I learned from swimming was I was able to transition it into dealing with developing other success. And so I learned a lot about myself, I would say in my 20s, because I realized my swimming career did end pretty suddenly. I don't even think that I was 20 when it happened. And it took a good, I would say, 10 years for me to mature, kind of that mental maturity of not being an athlete, not being a kid anymore, but actually starting to start my own path and where it was going and how the people, whether it was them impacting me or me impacting them, how that happened. And so, yes, the skills that I had been developing from the time that I was a young athlete to that point of even losing my identity. I really felt like I lost my identity when I lost swimming because I was always Laura the swimmer. And that's what I struggled with most when I lost that is, well, who am I now? I'm just Laura. Who is Laura? So I do, back to that gratitude piece, think about all the people over these years that have made me Laura Burk.
What a journey. What a wonderful journey. I know who Laura Burk is. I was thinking about the accident and the changes and just what you were just saying about the identity and how many, not only swimmers, but I want to focus on the sport of swimming today because it's unique in this way. Your identity, it's not only the amount of time that you train, and having that morning and afternoon practice, which is not completely unique to that sport, but it is somewhat unique to the sport of swimming. But it's also every day, or most days, twice a day, often, you've got all 5 senses engaged in that swimming pool. And so it is unique in that way. I had a coach recently at the University of Las Vegas, and he asked me, what do you think is unique to, in terms of the sport of swimming? And I know that is the answer. You are engaging all 5 senses. You've got, auditorily so many sounds, whether you're, just the sound of the water, coaches' whistles or their voice, your other athletes, and we could go on and on about the sounds. In terms of what you see, it's that brilliant color of the swimming pool alone, just the brilliant blue is so, it's such an anchor, so engaging. Also, you taste water, right? You feel water. You feel the temperature of the water. You feel even if you switch it from the actual feeling of the water to the feel of the stroke, that is there. And then, of course, there's that smell of the chlorine. You just can't, there's nothing that smells like chlorine. It has its unique scent. So, but I don't even know if you really thought about it that way, but that is why I've found that swimming can be one of the hardest sports to transition from. And even if you're on the pool deck coaching, unless you get down in that water, it's hard to connect with that excellent self that you remembered. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think if you remember when I was working with your girls, I think that's a place where I knew that the only way that I could continue to connect at that level was to be in the water. So I know that I spent a lot of time in the water, kind of with that kinesthetic piece to it of, if I can't verbally say it, if they're not understanding it from a verbal sense, that I need to be able to get them to feel it. Feel is out of anything I mean, even now, even though I'm not really connected to the swimming world like I used to be, I still understand the importance of listening to your body and what it's telling you and how to make changes with things by what you're listening to, what you're feeling with that piece. And so, yes, the feel of the water, the feel of being there, there's a mental connection there that is so important at so many different levels.
So do you watch swimming? Are you watching Worlds now? Like,
I haven't actually watched the competition, the video of it, but I have definitely been following Caleb Dressel and the U.S. team through Swimming World and Swim Slant. I've been reading the articles, and I've been, looking at some of the stuff going on. I know that I was really shocked when Katie Ledecky was beat, and I just kind of go back to that, well, she's human, that everybody has good and bad days, and that, she'll bounce back from it. And then to find out, the next day that she probably wasn't at the top of her game because she wasn't feeling well. And I think it's really important, especially the higher the level you go, to remember the human element.
yes,
We are all human.
right.
We will have our good days and bad days. It's just when you're on that stage, you're expected to be at your best. And so there's a lot of stress with that. And when all eyes are upon you, it's even that more difficult when you're not having a good day. So
it's hard to listen sometimes to the commentators, when they'll say things that I know that aren't intentional in terms of being harmful, but even, media and social media. And that doesn't really help in terms of being received as a human being. But because those athletes, as you know, being, having been at that level, I mean, just being at an elite level, they don't show up to do their worst ever. One of the things I was most excited about is to talk about how much it meant to me personally, the impact that you had on my girls and me personally as a parent, and also our friend Shawn Delifus, because I knew him early on too, when, way back when, and, the kind of standing joke is that we helped raise him, because we all saw something great in him and potential. And I remember even he went and worked with Nick Baker's camp, and we just saw him grow, and he spent so much time with you. And we can talk, a little bit more about that, because when I go and do these talks to other clinicians that do the type of work, I do tell them, please do not limit yourself in terms of helping athletes. Please do not focus on times or, the results. Focus on the process and helping make that a process that they'll always be happy with what they learned and, how they handled situations and that kind of thing. You were like the secret weapon. I don't even know if you know that we all refer to you as that. But we had obviously, great coaches in the area, great programs and all that. But for me personally, it wasn't always so much about that my girls had to be at the very top. One of my goals, if you remember, is I just didn't want my girls to have scars on their shoulders and not be able to compete if they wanted to in college or, even further. I certainly didn't want them to have surgery when they were in high school. And I knew I had an appreciation for the technical side of the sport. And you just have such an ability to work with all ages. You've always been a great communicator. And, that's really a great tribute to Laura Burk and who Laura Burk is. You have a great mix, and you always provided a great mix between tough love and compassion, but you always encourage them to push the limit. And by the way, you have coached some amazing athletes, more than I even know, but I know the ones that were hanging out at the pool, and we were all begging for our lesson time. And Caleb was one of them. You know him well. I know we're very proud, to have, Ryan and Caleb and these great swimmers from our area. But talk about that. I mean, I just have to know.
And I think it's funny that you say that. And again, I'm going back to just being humbled by my upbringing and everything, that I did never know how good I was in the water. I think early on I didn't really even know how good I was with people. I didn't know that I was the type of people person that I am. I do attribute a lot of that, though, to my mom. And a lot of that comes from her fighting lupus for 26 years. And she could do more from her bed and do more in a day than most people could do all day. And so I feel like some of it comes from that. I get a little bit of hereditary uplift from that. But learning to deal with the athlete at an individual level, I think it comes from my ability to observe. I like to observe my surroundings. I love to observe people, see how they interact and react to things. And I kind of make mental notes. I've always had a very kind of eidetic memory with some things. And so the recall process is very easy for me. And, to watch, because even though you guys were secretly on my sidelines and waiting for your lessons times, because I had my own team at the time as well, I would see how they would react in their environment with their coaches and stuff. I would see what was working, what wasn't working, and that was a benefit to me in learning and growing. I felt like a lot of times I had to bring fun into it. I also know that if I could explain it once and that they couldn't repeat it back to me, that there was a breakdown in the process. They've got to be able to process it mentally for it to aesthetically happen, that muscle memory. So the technical piece of it is so important, especially doing things right.
Yeah.
The more yardage that you would pound out with the wrong technique is going to produce the wrong technique.
Right.
If you pound out the yardage with the right technique, that's where the benefit's going to go. So Caleb Dressel, you mentioned him. We always worked on underwaters, and I know that that's something that he is very cognizant of to this day, is his underwaters, his breakouts, and how important that is to his ability to do what he's doing at his level. So
they always refer to those as working on the little things. They're not little things, are they, Laura? I mean, if you look
they're not.
Looking at Caleb's performances, those little things are the things that are getting him to the top, because there's some close races there.
At that level, everybody is, I mean, basically, if you just take the swimming part of it, everybody's pretty much at the same speed. It's the person that's going to do the most little things right.
Yeah.
That's put their hand on the wall. That's the difference between those tenths, hundredths of a second, and even that world record. I was cheering him on. I did watch that race for that. Hoping that he was going to get that 100 freestyle record yesterday. So you're right, they're not so little. They, little things make a big difference, and especially, the races that you do in the 50 free, there's the least amount of room for you to, have a mistake made, because it has the biggest impact. In the mile, it's you can make up that time, but if you do the most things right, if your walls are more consistent, you're getting around, you're coming off. Counting was such a important thing for me, and I still find myself, even though I don't swim at that level, when I do get in the water and I'm just kind of swimming around, I'll find myself counting.
Oh, really? That's great. I actually just worked with a couple of swimmers at sectionals, and we used some counting just in terms of their pacing, but we also use some words. We use counting and words to help them work through that difficult part, because it's just mindset, instead of hurting the body and really powering through. That's my problem with powering through, and the words powering through, because there's certain times that's not a good idea, in terms of you could injure yourself. And also I just, before you know it, if you use your mind to get through certain points, then you won't hurt the body and it'll be over.
I talk about mindset on a daily basis in what I do today. So it's, like I said, it transitions.
Tell everybody what you do today.
I was kind of forced out of my swimming, my actual being an elite athlete, by a car accident. And then I transitioned into coaching and into aquatics and found a great passion there. And I still have a passion for it. Unfortunately, my body over the years and being in the chlorine, I've developed COPD. And so being around chemicals makes it very difficult for me to breathe and sometimes can almost walk me into an emergency room. So I had to give up something I love dearly, and that is being on the pool deck on a daily basis, and not just for the sport of swimming, but in all aquatics, teaching people how to be safe around water. So I fortunately at that point did not lose my identity. I found a new platform. Mm-hmm. And so I now work for a wonderful company, Avoya Travel, and people think that I sell travel, but I actually work on the admin side of it. And by that, I mean I'm part of the educational development, professional development piece. And so I'm the senior manager of Avoya University, and I still coach and mentor independent agency owners, so people who do want to sell travel. We teach them how to use the technology. I love technology. It's probably my second love to the water is my tech love. And so we teach them how to learn the technology, how to develop systems, and basically to work smarter, not harder. So, it's back to the basics, how to build the foundation, how to set the goals, knowing that you're, not going to be an overnight success, that there is work and preparation involved in it. So that is what I do. I still am coaching and still mentoring, still having a really good time with that. So
I can't imagine you not coaching and mentoring. You just can't, even if it wasn't official, that's just who you are. And well, so since you love technology and that's your second love to the water, I think you need to get here to Florida and help me make some training videos.
I would love to. I'm actually in Florida right now. I'm in the Ocala area.
What? I did not know this.
Yes, well, right now I'm sitting in Ohio. A few years back, after Shawn passed away, he was. I just want to mention him again because he was.
Yes, let's talk about him. Let's talk about him.
He was an amazing human being, and like you said, you felt like you raised him. I never, in my entire swimming career, felt as passionate and energetic and having such a love for it as the time that I got to work with Shawn. He's much younger, and definitely we've lost him too soon. But the first time I saw him on the pool deck across the way, we were at a long course meet, and I hear him, and him being an African-American gentleman on the other side of the pool, and he's 6'4", he is definitely a presence to recognize, but there was something else about him. And from the minute that I talked with him and the minute that we started to kind of have those conversations about the importance of technique and how we can make it fun to learn this type of stuff and challenge people to step out of that comfort zone, ways to get them to do it without even knowing that they are, that is something that will always stay with me. But when he passed away, I kind of lost that joy, that passion. He was definitely like, we would talk every night and just bounce ideas off of each other, whether it was what I wanted to do or what he wanted to do with the loggerheads. It's really kind of hard not having him. But when I kind of lost that, that's when I decided we sold everything. We sold everything that we own, and we bought an RV, and we have been traveling for the past few years, going places, experiencing, creating memories, doing things that nobody can ever take away from us.
Yes. We like that, don't we, Laura?
Yes. Yes.
I think that is wonderful that, you have taken what some people in this journey would have considered, some pretty traumatic things, but you, instead of making those a life script that stopped you from doing something, it just led you in a different direction. And each time you take it and you run with it. You just, you're just excellent at what the things that you do, and you are. And I would like to also thank you for teaching me how to be a better swim parent and a better parent. That all came from you. I watched you and I thought, why didn't I think of that? I just listen to you say this. I have this big concept and this like teaching moment I want to have. And then you say like 3 sentences, done. And I have to say, looking back, that we're, as a family, very pleased with the mentors and the influencers that we allowed in our kids' lives.
For me, my observation of you as a swim parent was that you wanted the very best in opportunities for your children. And so you would do anything that you could. The thing that was always easiest in dealing with you and Larry was the fact that you were always willing to have the open mind and have the dialogue of, okay, this is happening. Why is this happening? And we were actually able to make that dynamic and have the communication between the coach and the swimmer, the parent and the swimmer, and the parent and the coach, and the swimmer and the coach. And because we were able to have sometimes some difficult conversations, I know that we've had some of those difficult conversations.
You mean where I cried?
Yes. Where you cried and I consoled and I said, this world is so involved in instant gratification.
Yes.
And it's not going to happen overnight. It is a process.
Right.
The process has to happen. And that's one of the things I think that I contribute. The losses in my life, I think, all made me better.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, oh, Laura's tough, she's resilient, and everything goes well. I am anything but. Through all of this stuff, and I think it's important for people to know, found out that I was human,
mm-hmm.
and it was okay. I never thought that it was okay to be human. I thought that I always had to be super, and I couldn't cry, and I couldn't have feelings, and I just had to do, and I couldn't be. The tears, the depression, they were all very real.
Mm-hmm.
And going through similar losses over the years, I learned the process, and that you have to go through the process. You can't rush the process. On the other side of the process, you're going to have healing. You're going to have strength and clarity. And you can't be a better version of yourself without the healing and the clarity. That's where the strength comes from. That's where, when the strength comes, the growth and the resilience. So it's okay to be beaten.
Absolutely.
What you do with it, that is going to determine who and what you become. And it's not overnight. It's not instantaneous.
That is so great for people to hear. And in fact, I will be pulling that clip and putting it in my parent program because it's so important. And I hope you'll help me with that, because I'm very passionate about having a parent program available that will help and not offend anyone. That because I find that most parents are the way you described. They just want the best for their child. They just want to know what to do. They don't know. So maybe we can help them with that.
Communication is a good place to start. Keeping the lines of communication open to know what's going on with the athlete. If the athlete ever feels like they can't communicate, that's where some of the walls will go up.
Have you seen my book? I say my book. I have like a guide, a success guide for five sports now, but swimming was the first one. I was just going to show you. I think you've probably seen it, but I don't know if you knew this. Okay, so there it is. But on the back, Caitlin Dressel, talk about another. She did the artwork for my website and did the design for the books.
I saw that. I was so excited. It's really cool to see the people that you've had on. I know you've had Kyle on, and then I see Caitlin doing that. It's really fun to see a lot of my former swimmers and them in their adult lives now, and how well they've transitioned to what it is that their passion is outside of the sport of swimming.
Right, exactly. But I think for her too, yeah, she's such a talented photographer and artist. So she does all of my photography as well. I don't know what she does. She's some kind of magic.
It's the Dressel magic.
Yeah. So it's
Incredible. That's one of those great families in swimming, and just everybody in their family is amazing.
I'm just wondering what it's like for you seeing not only Kayla, but seeing like Ashley having won winter nationals. I mean, and we thought SECs was great. And then also, Lauren and Caitlin and all of these athletes going on to college and doing, representing their schools. It's just got, I just wonder what that's like. It's got to be knowing that you were such a big part of all of that.
I always wonder if they remember me.
And then definitely remember you.
Yes. And then I'll get one of those little messages on Facebook, and it's just like, "Hi, Coach Laura, I thought about you today." And that's when you know that, yeah, they remember you, and yes, they still think about things. I look on Facebook, but I see, even some of the people who aren't doing elite level type of competitions, but they are still involved either coaching. I know Lauren's coaching, and Hannah Yancey is participating in the whatever sport that is that they go and they lift crazy weights and they do the competitions. I think Lydia Ware is doing that too.
Catherine Brewer is doing that as well, right?
Yeah, Catherine Brewer is doing that as well. She's doing bodybuilding. I look at them and see how they've used their experiences, and now that they're kind of transitioning out of that sport, but they're still staying involved. They're staying healthy. They're still competing. They're still very competitive people. I laugh and giggle a little bit at some of them because I look at what they're doing now and I'm like, how come you cried when I made you do it? Well, and now you do it on your own will. I help them be mentally tough enough to know that coming out of that comfort zone is okay, and that whatever comes on the other side of it will make them better.
Well, thank you so much for doing this podcast, Laura. When I asked you just to send me a little bio, you had a little message that I really liked when I said, is there anything that you would like to say? Do you remember what that was? I have it right here in front of me. I'll just read it because it's so beautiful. The skills and the message are the same. The platform has changed, but making a positive impact and helping others think about resolution in a more optimistic way stays the same. The footprint I leave in this world will not be worldly things. It will be memories and others continuing to give back. That's beautiful.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. And that sounds so familiar. It sounds so much like many of the messages that I heard communicate to the swimmers, sometimes even when it was very dark and early in the morning. Right?
Yes. I think those were the more stern. I've never been a real morning person, so it was easier for me to push people out of the comfort zone in the morning for morning practice and morning lessons. Yes, Shawn used to tease me. He used to say that there were two of me, that I had two personalities. There was Laura, was the more sensitive, caring, compassionate, it'll be okay kind of person. And then there was Burk.
Do you know what we call that? And I think I may have stolen this from Nick Baker a long time ago, but I liked his acronym BOB, the best of both. If you use the best of both, then you're going to reach more kids. And I think too, they, on in life, when they have employers and they have bosses, they're going to have different moods and they're going to have to communicate things a different way.
You have to find the motivation to kind of get that motivation from within, and it takes different approaches with different people, not just the athlete, even the parents, my employees, and over the years, yourself even sometimes.
Okay, everyone. So you heard it here. She said she would be willing to help me with the parenting manual, right? And
Absolutely. I would be so honored. I am so impressed with what you're doing. I think it's a very needed element to the sport, not just for athletes, but for parents. There's not, I always joked about the new parents when they come to summer swimming, but the first swim meet that a summer parent goes to, that deer in the headlights rights and the what did I just sign up for. Something I don't think most people know about my father is my father didn't know how to swim.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
He did not know how to swim, and he realized very early after I joined the sport, got involved in the sport, that I loved the sport and that it was something I was going to spend a lot of time in. And the way that he was able to connect, since he didn't know anything about swimming, he couldn't do swimming involved. And so he became a volunteer, and he worked himself up to the highest level of officiating in Florida swimming, and that's how he contributed and learned.
Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off, and thank you again for doing this. I know, I just think I see so many things that we can do together in the future. Workshop would be fantastic.
I would love to, Joni. I would absolutely love to be a part of that. It would be a way for me to stay involved with something that's meant a lot to me.